Thank you very much. God has called me to this moment. I did not ask for it. As a son of former sharecroppers from Manning, South Carolina, who plowed the fields, picked the cotton, picked the strawberries, I am indeed humbled by this invitation. I want you to fully understand that this invitation and this date was set a long time ago, 2 months ago, as a matter of fact. It just so happened that destiny has brought us to this moment. I would like to thank the National Press Club, your President NPR's Allison Kojak, Bob Weiner, and Jeff Ballou. And I want to thank all of you for inviting me to join you today for this conversation. It is my hope that our hour together will be a conversation among citizens about the state of our government and the future of our precious country and our democracy, by the way. But before we begin, I want to take a moment to address the recent mass shootings that took the lives of people this past weekend. I got to tell you, first of all, let me express my sympathy and condolences to the families. And I also want to thank our first responders, those who go into dangerous situations to save lives. I thank God for you. I'm truly heartbroken for these families and communities who are suffering at the hands of gun violence. I'm sorry that once again we are mourning the lives of those who were stolen from us before they reached their potential or their destiny. Gun violence seems to know no bounds, none, none. A school, a shopping mall, a movie theater, a park, a church. Sadly, the only things that have changed is the location. The only thing. I'm a man of deep faith, and I believe that prayer works. But the American people are begging us for more than thoughts and prayers. They want action, and guess what? They want it now, because they know that this is a critical moment in our history. That is why I have co-sponsored the Bipartisan Background Checks Act, which would require background checks for firearm transfers between private parties. This bill passed the House, and I call on the Senate and Mitch McConnell to take it up and consider the measure. And then I want the president to sign it. We want action. We must also stop the hateful, incendiary comments. We got to do it. Those in the highest levels of the government must stop invoking fear, using racist language, and encouraging reprehensible behavior. It only creates more division among us and severely limits our ability to work together for the common good. As a country, we finally must say that enough is enough, that we are done with the hateful rhetoric, that we are done with the mass shootings, that we are done with the white supremacist domestic terrorists who are terrorizing our country and fighting against everything America stands for and everything our phenomenal military has fought for. And when I'm speaking of that, I'm just reminded of a conversation. that I had with my 10-year-old niece this weekend. She said, Uncle Elijah, 10 years old now, Uncle Elijah, are they going to put us in cages? Are they going to put us in cages? That's coming from a 10-year-old. We are better than that. We must stand together with those who we do not look like, with those who we disagree with, and recognize that we have more in common than we have that separates us. We all are sick of this. We all want decency and respect. Decency and respect. We want our communities to be protected, and we want all to live in a country where our children are safe when they go to the mall or to the Walmart or to the local school. We must stand united and demand change. You know, one of the things that I've always thought about, and I think about it a lot, it's one thing when you have a government where the people are afraid of the government. People are afraid, did you hear what I said? Afraid of the government. And we need to switch that around, where the government is afraid of the people. And I have some hope. I have hope because I know there's so many people at home in every city in this country are watching the communities of El Paso and Dayton in pain. And we are grieving with them. We feel your pain. We really do. We feel it. As you prepare to bury your own, who was simply trying to live a life of peace, doing what Americans normally do. They're in pain, and we are in pain. And from that pain, though, must come passion. And from that passion, we must do our purpose. We must shift that pain into action and demand that our government finally take serious action to prevent people intent on killing from obtaining guns and put an end to this senseless violence. Now let me turn to our discussion for today. I will touch upon the great work, and I do mean it, the great work my committee is doing and trying to do to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse of this administration and our efforts to address critical issues like prescription drug prices. I will also briefly address the blatant attempts to attack my community in Baltimore, and in so doing, to divide us as a country and to distract us, and I want to emphasize that, distract us from all the understanding that unites us and combat the dangers that our country faces. I was born along with my 5 of my 6 brothers and sisters in Baltimore, educated and still live in Baltimore. And I want my neighbors to know how humbled and, oh God, I am so proud that they have trusted me to represent them in the Congress of the United States of America. Thank you, Baltimore. Thank you. My neighbors, by and large, are the most determined, hardworking, and deserving people I know. People, anyone, and especially our national leaders, should be proud to commend as their countrymen and women. They are no different than people of Texas or Ohio or anywhere else in our great nation. We have honest and candid conversations. We do not hesitate to critique and protest what we are as lacking and as wrong with our city. These criticisms are necessary for they are the birthing ground of constructive change. At the same time, however, unbalanced criticism can be self-reinforcing, causing us to doubt our ability to improve. And we're improving every day. When I hear the criticism from anyone about the city, what bothers me the most is that we have people stepping on the hopes of our children and the hopes of our people. When I have my niece asking, are they going to put us in cages? There's just something wrong with that. Our children must know that we are doing everything we can right now to ensure that they will have a better future. I will do my part until I die to make sure that happens. Time is precious, and I will not waste it on anything attempting to distract me from my purpose and my mission. When I became the chairman, I said I wanted to conduct rigorous, responsible oversight and address the issues that matter most to the American people. That is what my committee is doing and trying to do. We are addressing issues like prescription drug pricing, voting rights, criminal justice reform, opioid abuse. Each one of these issues are dear to my heart, and I have been addressing them a long time. My committee's first hearing this year was on the rising cost of prescription drug prices. We heard from a mother, a lady named Ms. Worsham. Listen to this. This was the first witness that appeared before my committee as chairman. And Ms. Worsham told us about her 22-year-old daughter who was rationing her insulin because she could not afford it. It was $333 a month. She died. She died, you hear me? 22 years old. She will never reach her destiny. She's gone. $333 a month. I convened another hearing before the August recess where we heard directly from patients who described the devastating impact of not being able to afford their life-saving medications. They represent the millions of patients all over this country who need our help, and they need our help desperately. That's why I launched an investigation into these high drug prices. The American people simply want to know why drug companies are increasing the prices so drastically. What happens to those proceeds and the steps Congress can take to make drugs much more affordable. Oversight is the first step to finding the building and support for effective, lasting solutions that can really address problems. Oversight starts with gathering facts, and you all should know a lot about that. This is in your self-interest, members of the press. If we are being blocked and not getting the information that we need to hold the administration accountable, then we've got a problem. And that's exactly what's been happening. Oversight, gathering facts. The committee has collected tens of thousands of pages of documents in response to our requests to these drug companies. Our staff is analyzing the materials we have, and we've received quite a bit so far, and we're expecting to collect even more. But it's interesting that the Republicans on my committee, listen up, wrote the drug companies and told them not to cooperate with us. You hear me? They told them not to. And that's unheard of. And by the way, let me put a footnote right here. Don't let the Congress off lightly. And everybody keeps running around talking about the presidential race, which is very important. They talk about the congressional seats, that's important. but do not let the Senate go. Do not. Zero in on the Senate. Every single last one of them. We act like we don't have the power to change the Senate. We do. And we need to act now, right now. So we also are investigating reports of voter suppression. And let me tell you why that's so near and dear to me. My mother, on her dying bed at 91 years old, uttered some words to me that I shall never forget, that are part of my DNA. She's lying on her deathbed. And she didn't say, Elijah, I love you. She did not say, Elijah, I'm proud of you. The last words that she spoke before she died was, do not let anyone take our votes away. Those were her last words. So we also investigating these reports of voter suppression. And let me say this. I get tired of people, and you in the press, again, should appreciate this. They want us to be blinded by what we see. Blinded by what we see. And I submit to you, we are so much better than that. So I hope that we can learn from events of the past. We're also making strides to improve the criminal justice system. The House passed my bill, the Fair Chance Act. The bill would prevent the federal government from requesting criminal history information for applicants until they reach the conditional offer stage. Very, very important in helping folks get jobs. We also are addressing the opioid epidemic. I introduced the CARE Act with my colleague, Senator Elizabeth Warren, because it's time for our nation to take a comprehensive approach to providing the resources we need to treat those who suffer from addiction. More than 200 groups have endorsed the bill. More than 100 members of Congress have co-sponsored the legislation. I say, let's get it done. You can clap. You clap whenever you get ready to. Very soon, I'm going to be traveling to West Virginia to talk with advocates and medical professionals about the challenges they face every day when addressing this epidemic. These are just some of the ways my committee is working hard to improve the lives of all, and I emphasize all, I underline all Americans. At the same time, we have launched investigations to combat waste, fraud, and abuse, which is our job, by the way, under the Constitution of the United States of America. That's our job. For example, we are investigating the administration's inhumane child separation policy and the decision to add the citizenship question to the census. And you all need to really evaluate, you in the press, what happened here. Let me tell you. Let me give you the rest of the story. The problem is the administration refuses to give us the documents we requested and have instituted a delay and stonewall approach. This administration dictated this approach the day after the Democrats took control of the House, when he threatened, quote, a warlike, end of quote, posture against Democrats. This is frustrating, and it takes up a lot of time and a lot of effort. We need to ensure that we don't let the administration's attempts to delay and obstruct us go unchallenged. The American people voted us into the majority with the expectation that we will uncover, expose, and ultimately fix these abuses. The Oversight Committee is the primary investigative body of the Congress. And our job is to ensure that the same requirements of transparency and accountability that have applied to every other administration apply to this one. So now the question we must ask ourselves is this: what do we hope to leave for the next generation? That's the question that we got to ask. It is a major question. I say to the American people that if you want your government to do more to address the issues that matter most to you, then you need to vote. And you got to vote like you've never voted before. If you want your elected officials to work for you and not for their own self-interest, then you need to vote. If you want more from the highest levels of government, if you want more, only if you want more, you need to vote. You need to get up and vote. It's time for America to wake up and pay close attention to what this administration is attempting to do. For example, despite warnings from, now listen to this carefully. Despite warnings from internal experts within the Commerce Department that adding a citizenship question would be costly and harm the accuracy of the enumeration, this administration used the Voting Rights Act, of all things, as a pretext to try to add a citizenship question to the 2020 census. New documents revealed this spring suggest that the administration wanted to add the citizenship question in order to gerrymander legislative districts to help Republicans. That's not fair. That's not right to any of us. That means the billions and billions of dollars that are allocated through formulas, the redistricting to make sure that we have fair representation would not be accurate. We would not get what we had paid into. And I want to remind the taxpayers of America, by the way, you pay taxes, and you deserve the very, 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 very best from our government. We must have high expectations of our government. Transparency about these facts ultimately led to the president dropping the citizenship question at the very last minute. Imagine what would have happened if activists, Congress, and the media turned a blind eye to their efforts. I urge everyone to take a long look at the actions and policies of this administration to determine how they will vote in the next election. I want to leave you with this thought. We are engaged in a fight for the soul of our democracy. I said that before our president and administration won. As a matter of fact, I said it to the Democratic caucus. I said to them, this is not about Trump. This is not about Hillary. It's much bigger than that. This is a fight for the soul of our democracy, and we have to understand that. And so we in the Congress and you in the media must confront and overcome the continuing attacks on our constitutionally created and protected institutions from sources both foreign and domestic. Those of us who raise up to adulthood and citizenship in the time of Dr. Martin Luther King are not naive. We're not. We are not afraid. Above all, we will not be defeated. We have endured and overcome such threats before, and we understand our duty to restore and perfect the evolving story of our American history, good, bad, and ugly. Dr. King so often reminded us in our youth that our nation's darkest hours have often been just before the dawn. Come on now. And let me, go ahead, you can clap. And let me remind you that he also said something that I think about every day. He says, so often our silence becomes our betrayal. Betrayal of future generations. Betrayal of people like my niece. Betrayal of those who have worked hard all their lives to be the very best that they can be, giving it everything they've got. And the promise still rings true. If we stand together, we march together, we vote together, we can restore the light of democracy. Now, let me just want to refer you to one thing. I know Brother Ballou said don't use your cell phones, but I want you to Google, and I'm saying this to every preacher, every evangelical, I'm saying this to every speechwriter, everybody. I want you to read this article because it sets in place where we are now. It's by President George W. Bush's former speechwriter, and it's from the August 2nd edition of the Washington Post, and it's Mr. Gerson. He detailed the racist history of our country and those who were victimized by it, making the point that racist comments reopen the scars of so many past wounds. He also made a critical point that the president's racist comments expand the divide in our nation, and that those who allow those comments to go unchecked are enabling them. I want to thank my wife, Maya Rocky Moore Cummings, Dr. Maya Rocky Moore Cummings. Amen. And my daughter, Jennifer Cummings, for being with me today. And make sure you read that article. Everybody, make sure you read it. Every preacher, you need to preach from it. And I think what we need to do is be about the business of uniting our great country. We are truly, 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 truly a great country, but we have to keep it. We have to keep it. And with that, I thank you. What are we doing? Okay. I'm all right. I'm okay.
And we're going to move.
By the way, I understand this is a sold-out crowd, and I really appreciate